My brother moved out of the house back in 2002 once he got his job as a computer technician, and he recently went missing. When I went to his house, it was locked, with 3 sheets of printer paper taped to the front door. While coming home from work one day, I noticed someone had left their damaged grey laptop laying in the middle of my driveway. I got out of my car to examine it more carefully. The LCD definitely showed signs of user-related damage. There was a large hole on the left side of the screen that appeared to fit the standard Phillips head screwdriver perfectly. There was a webcam above the display, and it was also destroyed with the same screwdriver. Other than those, everything else on the computer showed minor signs of wear. Almost all of the keyboard's keys were faded, but not to the extent that the laptop could be considered unusable. I looked at the back of the display to find out what brand it is, but I couldn't find anything. I looked at the entire laptop's shell, but there was no text or logo stating what brand it was. The LCD definitely showed signs of user-related damage. There was a large hole on the left side of the screen that appeared to fit the standard Phillips head screwdriver perfectly. There was a webcam above the display, and it was also destroyed with the same screwdriver. Other than those, everything else on the computer showed minor signs of wear. Almost all of the keyboard's keys were faded, but not to the extent that the laptop could be considered unusable. I looked at the back of the display to find out what brand it is, but I couldn't find anything. I looked at the entire laptop's shell, but there was no text or logo stating what brand it was. I stopped. There's no way this is going to work. The battery has to be dead by now. I rummaged around the basement to find my battery voltage tester and immediately withdrew the battery from the laptop and checked the voltage. Lo and behold, it had no charge. Well, I thought, might as well just leave it and take everything to Sarkane tomorrow morning. With that, I unplugged the display from the laptop, put it back into the desktop and simply left everything downstairs. After leaving the basement, I went to go watch TV for about 3 hours or so before going to bed. I was suddenly awakened from my deep slumber by the sound of the Windows 2000 startup jingle and fell out of my bed. It was so deafeningly loud, I swore someone was holding a pair of speakers right next to my ears. I stood up in a groggy daze, and it took a couple of minutes to figure out what the sound was. The desktop. I must have accidentally hit the power switch while trying to switch monitors. I headed to the basement, but froze in the middle of the steps. I just remembered there was no way my computer could have started up, because I have Windows 95 installed on my desktop. I was reluctant to go down the steps after that, but my common sense started kicking in and I thought I must be getting my OSs mixed up. When I walked down, I was shocked to see that my desktop wasn't on. In fact, I remembered it wasn't even plugged in. I had to make sure of it though. I checked behind the desktop. Everything else was plugged in except for the power. There was absolutely no chance of that laptop turning on. It was impossible. I removed the battery from the laptop again and rechecked the voltage. This time, I couldn't get a direct number. The voltage tester was just going insane. This time, I couldn't get a direct number. The voltage tester was just going insane. I reinserted the battery and pressed the power button on the laptop. Some indicator lights flashed, meaning the computer definitely started, except this time the start-up jingle wasn't played at all. I needed to see what was going on here. I connected the CRT monitor back into the laptop, and what I saw was a bare desktop with 3 icons in the corner. The taskbar was empty, and there was no start menu button. The wallpapers was black. Why would anyone do this to their desktop? Anyone could remove all the icons, but added by Bill 9929 they had to be pretty skilled hackers to remove the start menu button. Of the 3 icons, one was a games folder, one was a videos folder, and the last was the DOS command prompt program. Maybe this was a kid's laptop. Clicking on the games folder confirmed my suspicions. A little girl must have owned this laptop. I felt some remorse for the poor girl because there was only one game in the folder. The program name was Princess.exe. I clicked on it just to see what the game was like. A fully animated title screen came up, with various generic fairy tale princesses twirling across the screen, and then the logo flew down with a bunch of sparkly doves holding it. The game was called Princess Creator, Make Yourself Beautiful. Ah, so it must have been one of those low-budget put PNG of various clothing items onto a photo of yourself games. I was right. As the menu popped up, I was given the option to dress up or to view pretty pictures. I wanted to see what the girl looked like, so I clicked on the second option. She had to have been no more than 5, and on top of that she looked very cute. She was of either Mexican or Spanish origin. She wore a somewhat tattered white dress with small red frills around the sleeves and collar. It had small roses on it. I smiled, as she looked like she had a lot of fun putting a virtual tiara on her head. However, browsing through the photos, about halfway through, there were pictures of a room with nothing else but a bed inside. She must have been dodging the camera for the heck of it, I guess. After that I felt I'd seen enough with that program, and might as well go see the other 2 files on the laptop. I decided to go into the command prompt to see if I could locate any other files on the hard drive. I simply got to see if I could open the directory I wanted to explore. I pressed enter, and DOS simply replied, "Start is not recognized as an internal or external command, operable program or batch file." After a few seconds, the program crashed, bringing me back to the desktop. So I guess the last thing to look at is the videos. As I double-clicked the folder, and the screen faded to black. I thought it had crashed, but I noticed that there was a small underscore flashing in the top left corner. Suddenly, the text Start 001 WMV flashed briefly, then a video appeared in full screen. It was the girl again. This time, she was smiling, bouncing slightly in excitement. Her happiness made my heart feel warm. My guess was that she must have been recording herself play the dress-up game with the webcam. At first she was simply moving her finger across the trackpad, clicking, then giggling excitedly for a bit. She must have been laughing at the things she put on herself in the game. After about 2 minutes or so, the screen would cut to black for a fraction of a second and then return to the girl playing the game. This time, however, she was dressed differently, in a simple pink t-shirt with the words, "Go Go Girl," stitched in glitter. I guess the game was recording her every time she started it, without her knowing. That made me sort of uneasy. I mean, why would anyone program a game to do that? Whatever, I guessed it was going to be the same sort of thing over and over with the video, so I might as well turn off the computer. I reached over and pressed the power button, and it didn't shut off this time. The video continued to play, and I saw the girl this time was wearing an orange tank top with nothing on it. She was smiling and giggling as usual, and I thought maybe I could turn off the computer after the video is done. It couldn't be that long. The video seemed to drag on, with more cuts of her playing the game in a different outfit, and I started to doze off. However, after the next cut in the video, the girl was just staring at the camera with an expressionless look on her face. Wondering what the hell was going on, I became interested in the video again. This one didn't make me smile. It made me extremely uneasy to watch her without her usual smiley face on. It was dark in the room, but there was one desk light on at the side. She was in some sort of nightwear. What was she going to do? She sat there for a minute with that blank expression, like she wasn't thinking at all. I started to get really tense, as if something awful was about to happen. She bent over and picked up a handsaw from the left side of where she was sitting. She held it in front of her, showing it to the camera. Then, she placed the jagged blade on the side of her cheek. I cringed at what I was seeing. Slowly, she began slicing into her right cheek. Blood drizzled down her neck as she did it. Slowly, the side of her teeth began to show after about 10 seconds. As the saw went lower on her face, more of her teeth began to show on the side. Blood covered almost the entire right side of her face. She eventually got to the bottom of her jawbone and sawed a tiny piece off of it too. Her cheek fell to the ground with a small thud, and she put the saw in her lap and continued to stare at the camera, emotionless. I couldn't take much more of this and tore the battery out of the laptop, but the video continued to play. Then, the next cut began. The girl screamed in extreme pain. I almost fell out of my seat. It was so loud. She screamed and put her hands over her now absent cheek. She continued to scream in agony for about 10 seconds. Then a knocking was heard from the side. It was a woman, yelling in a language I couldn't understand. She was pounding the door, but not opening it. The girl must have locked it. I tried to unplug the monitor from the laptop, but it was stuck in. I didn't want to see what happens next. The screaming and the yelling continued up until the next cut.